Hey, so sorry, we forgot to introduce either of our guests, Sam and I, because we're just so good at this.
Our vibes are just too strong. We just couldn't help but hang out.
They will introduce themselves now.
I'm Dan Pierce. I'm a designer, programmer, hybrid, doing a lot of work at Strange Scaffold right now. Recently worked on I Am Your Beast and Click Holding, and I've been working in the games industry for like... Oh God, how many years?
That oh God came from a dark place.
Yeah, it sounds like too many.
I think it's like 14, 15.
Oh my God.
It's too many. I've made all my games.
Heard it here first.
I'm RJ Lake. I am directing Unbeatable alongside Andrew Tsai at D-Cell Games. And I also do a lot of music and sound design and voice direction and other things for Strange Scaffold, and have done since the first Strange Scaffold game put out, which was an airport for aliens currently run by dogs. I've been doing shit for a while as well, but not quite as long as Dan, because I'm a young, spry man.
We're the same age.
Nice 2 minutes. Game dev only conversation. You're never going to know what it was. It was top secret.
That's sad. That's really sad.
Yeah.
Not like the norm, wherever I know every single insider secret. Everyone tells me everything, and I can get anyone fired at any point in time.
That is true.
How are you guys doing?
I'm feeling very fireable.
That's great. On that note,
Speaking of layoffs.
yeah, speaking of layoffs, there's one thing that Sam and I have been trying to accomplish with this podcast. It's to discourage anyone else from getting into any creative field.
A noble effort.
I mean, look where it got us. So on that note, I was hoping I could ask you two about how you got in, as sort of like a cautionary tale, you know?
Yeah, can we close some doors?
Yeah. Knowing how you guys broke into the industry will help other people like take very clear steps to avoid all of those steps, you know?
This will probably end up being like a theme, generally, of just like everyone who gets into the games industry. It's pretty rare usually to find people who got into the games industry in like a clean way, where it's like, oh yeah, I studied game development and then I became a game developer and now I'm here.
Yeah.
My impression is that most of the people who do that burn out really quick.
Yeah, they usually get absorbed into a big studio immediately and then harvested.
Yeah.
And then they find out what working in a big studio is like, and then 3 years later they just want to be a fucking like maintenance IT guy or something.
This is not an answer to your question, and like we will get there in a second, I promise. I literally know of studios in the UK where if you start your career working there, you are harder to hire.
Oh my God, what?
Because the reputation of those studios, which I won't name, is so bad that it's just like, look, people there will just like internalize such bad processes that
shit.
they are less valuable than no experience.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is a fucking thing. There's a lot of weird shit like that in AAA. It not just in the UK. This is just everywhere. Every AAA. It's fucking endemic. Like where you will get like weird things of, oh, this company just doesn't pay people well, so don't ever give them a raise because they will now be spoiled forever. It's like a thing that I've heard people basically say. It's weird. Weird shit happens.
I mean, I can't say I'm surprised, but it's always
Disappointing.
it's like yeah, I mean, not even just that. It's one thing to like to know the industry well enough to know that like, yeah, this shit happens, but it's another to hear it spoken aloud, you know? Right. To hear it addressed directly.
Yeah.
Makes it feel more real.
And it's especially bleak in the context of like, it's so hard to get and maintain a job in the games industry at the moment. Anyway, that the additional layer of like, even if you get a job, that job might harm you, not even just like your health, but your career prospects as well, just by virtue of being there.
Yeah.
It's bad.
It is interesting because I feel like a lot of people that at least I know when I look in the mirror and see myself, like I feel like I've accidentally gotten a lot of job security out of perpetually holding myself in like what should be really precarious positions. Like by avoiding landing at a AAA studio, I feel like I've accidentally fucked myself into being more hireable than I would be if I spent the last few years locked down at one place, which is concerning because that's not a thing that you should recommend people doing.
But you also shouldn't recommend people work in the games industry. So
for your health and sanity.
I feel like this is kind of a common thing that like I know bits and pieces of RJ's story of like how he got into games, and I would encourage him to lead with his answer to this. But like I do think there is a commonality between like if you just do weird stuff and kind of just like wedge yourself in wherever you can, it does actually kind of make you safer in a bunch of regards.
Honestly, no, it does, because you're not then beholden to a larger structure around you. This is the fucking words I'm about to say I actively hate, but you make yourself a more valuable prospect by like being someone who demonstrates that you are a valuable individual separately from the things around you.
Yeah.
This shit is hard because there's no good answer, and there's fewer good answers now. Like the answer for me breaking into the games industry was literally just, hey, I was on TigSource a lot and I was on Twitter a lot, and you just gradually talk to people and you're like, hey, your project's good.
Yep.
Do you want music for the project that you're doing? Because I don't see you have a music on the project. And then they say yes, and then you get profit share from that game. And like that's
I mean, it's not, that's not even like exclusive to games. I mean, like it's exactly the same over here. That's just like how freelance tends to work generally these days, as far as I can see. It's all about who you know and who you can annoy enough to work with.
It's so fucking frustrating because on the back, the other side of it, I see every day why people get so annoyed with like the cold calling of like, hey, do you need music for your project? Do you need like there's a million of that of those every day, those messages that get sent out.
And I mean, I get the same thing with editors.
Yeah.
Like not a week goes by I don't get one or two people who are just like, hey, do you need an editor? Do you need an editor? Do you need an editor?
Because it's so hard. It's so hard to get a job in that. And it's the stuff that there's so many more of skill set than there are jobs available for people to do.
Yeah.
Which means that if you're someone who is compelled very stupidly to do music production or editing, both things that I got very good at very quickly, the thing that you need to do basically is to create a project by yourself that facilitates those things. Because otherwise, like, you're more or less rolling the dice at a party that is stomping on the dice.
Yeah, a lot of people won't get as far as sending a message, but a lot more people will send a message than will actually do things and be able to execute. And it is tough to. It's really tough, but like, because it is the correct advice to give people who want to break into the industry is like, you just have to do it yourself first, because waiting on someone else is a huge gamble. Doing something yourself is also a huge gamble, but like, the problem, the biggest problem that I have with that advice of like, just do your own game first at a small scale is that it is a little bit fundamentally kind of unfair.
Oh, no, it absolutely is. It's the fucking, you are climbing a cliff uphill immediately the second you start trying to learn any of it, which is why my usual advice, which I emphasize quite a bit, if you actually want to get in the games industry, which don't, is find people are similarly obsessed with the same stuff you are and are good at different things from you.
Yeah.
That's where I was going to take it too, right? It's like the only way that I can think of to offset the insurmountably daunting amount of work that is just doing it yourself first is to share the burden with other people who together can form like a halfway decent team of people. Right.
None of this solo developer shit. I say this looking at
not at first, right? Or at least like not if you plan on doing something more than just like a little test. If you just want to dick around, that's one thing.
Sure.
Like you cannot be giving yourself a full ass project as like a first run.
Yeah.
You can make the next Call of Duty on your own. Don't listen to these people.
Listen, you can be Toby Fox.
God.
Oh man, sorry.
Famously not a solo developer.
Yeah, just the only one that people talk about.
That's why I love that example, is because it's like not even a good one.
Right.
I there's no way to verify this, so I can say this bold claim. But like, I would genuinely say that
now
like,
you're on a podcast.
I would say like 90% of the time where I see like solo developer makes X, you don't have to look far at all before you're like, well, no, there was like a sound designer on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There were voice act like, yeah, it's a solo developer if you don't count the entire rest of the team.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it really bugs me.
I mean, solo developer at this point, I sort of, in my mind, just take as a given that it's not like actually one guy. It's one person's passion project and one person who was putting in like long hours and a bunch of other people who were putting in various degrees of more time on top of that.
Right.
And that everyone else, it could be fucking anything. Maybe they were working just as much. Maybe they were contributing here and there, but it's like that it's always somewhere on
Yeah.
that scale. It's never just the one guy.
It's like the exceptions are like Animal Well and Itch.io games, and that's it right now of anything that's coming out right now. Because even Balatro is solo, but it has a music and sound designer.
There's always at least one.
It's like fucking. You don't have to be insecure about working with other people and not being
No,
able to
you
do
should
everything on
want
your
that.
own.
No, you shouldn't. That's my whole point.
Creativity is best when it's communal, I think, personally. It's like, and when it's game development, holy fuck!
I mean,
like it's kind of a requirement at a certain point.
150%. You need to have some level of creative leadership. Like the other side of the things where it's just everyone kind of being like, well, what if we did this? And then please raise your hand if you like the idea. That doesn't work because nobody agrees on anything, or nobody's like feeling confident enough in the thing to do anything. You need to have someone who's saying this is good, this is bad.
RJ, I need you to start talking more from experience. I don't like all of this stuff where you're just throwing stuff out there. I know that because I know that you're not speaking from experience on this.
Yeah, no, I have never experienced any shit like this in my life. Look, I'm not going to say the situations actually in my, like, it would be nicer to the people involved in all those situations to not say the situations, but just, you need to have people confidently giving some degree of leadership on a project for it to work.
Yeah.
And that's not dictatorship, by the way. And there's middle ground. There's needing to be receptive and listen and then make those calls.
Yeah, I see this all the time with communal projects, especially because like there's so much like young blood, just people who aren't super experienced who get involved on projects like that. Like personally, the most I saw it was on like reanimated stuff. You know, the things where like
I was just gonna say, indie animation scene is really bad.
It's really bad.
What were y'all's first experiences with worker exploitation? Because they almost, at least for me, that was like it was in a completely unofficial capacity. It was just a bunch of teenagers accidentally recreating the worst excesses of game industry management complete with like
that's always
tyrannical egomaniac. Yeah.
that happens with children all the time. Yeah, for me, it's probably anything related to Homestuck.
Communal, or were you like actually a part of it?
No, I was a part of the whole thing.
Oh, this is a big kind of
shit.
Go, RJ, go.
This is RJ
God,
lore
no.
I did not know about.
No, my first ever real quote unquote job doing creative work was I did music for Homestuck.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that was like I did quite a bit of it for.
Oh, you're old.
I am very old. I'm fucking 30, man. Like I know.
Sam, why'd you invite this guy?
It sucks. It sucks out here being 30. And guess what? I was half that age when I started doing shit for Homestuck.
Yeah, no, I that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, after I learned how young Toby was when he was doing shit, it's like,
we came on at the same time, and so like we've known each other for a while, and
I did not know you knew fucking Toby Fox. Okay,
I actually sometimes have like this scary thought in my heart of like how many games industry jobs or connections I've accidentally made just because I have him following me, and that makes me feel upset.
That's fucking.
But yeah, no. Listen, I don't want to lay that on too thick, but partially because I don't think that
Block him.
Block Toby
right now.
Listen, it's a bootstraps moment. You gotta prove to the world you don't fucking need him.
I don't bring this stuff up I partially don't bring this stuff up mostly because like I think that doing that feels gross in the way of like, oh yeah, I know this guy who's like a big shit of Cool Mountain, and I feel like there's a weird vibe to that when you like bring stuff up about, Oh, I know the guy who I can name drop. Like, I don't know. There's something about that I don't like.
Yeah, no, it's a red flag within the industry.
Sure.
It's a good mark on you that I did not know this until right now.
I didn't fucking know it until right now.
Oh my God! Wow.
I've known RJ
Props
for years.
to you, RJ. Goddamn.
Damn, you have, yeah.
You're one of the good ones.
One podcast.
I fucking forgot what I was talking about. We got derailed with Homestuck shit.
Yeah.
I asked this question about what was your first experience with worker exploitation.
Oh yeah, long story short, just Homestuck built itself around structures that I think ended up being really weird about that stuff, and I don't think any of us really thought about it too much because we were fucking children on that music team for the most part.
Yeah.
That's just the long and short of it. Is I think that kind of lent itself to, we were making music for money and we were also getting only 30% of the profits from that music. And so it's weird. Shit's weird. But it did get me jobs, so I'm glad I did it. I think my first actual soundtrack, which is on Omegalodon, which is the fucking game that nobody has ever played or has heard about anymore. But I did the soundtrack for that because I was reached out to by a guy who had heard my music through Homestuck. So for exposure, friends.
For exposure.
That's, I was just about to say, I think the main takeaway from this story is that, like, next time someone offers you exposure, take it.
Yep.
You take that shit.
You can take that shit right to the bank.
Dan, do you have a fun story?
About exploitation? No.
Really?
I had a
look at
I've
you.
had a what?
Everyone clap for Dan.
The only things I could cite would be examples where I've just pushed myself too hard. Cheers.
I just want to say thank you for whoever pressed that button. Dan, please continue.
So, like, my road into games was quite a weird and I guess privileged one. So when I was 16, I basically just had a string of right place, right time moments, where the first one being I was 16 years old, and BAFTA, the awards organization for like film, TV, and games, started doing this thing called BAFTA YGD, which was BAFTA Young Game Designers. Literally the first year that they were doing it, so no one knew about it. I found out about it, I submitted myself, and I won, and then just immediately got like drop kicked into the games industry.
Holy shit.
And it was this weird kind of like cyclical thing where, because of that, I then around the time I dropped out of university a couple of years later and was working on my first game that I was about to release, which is called Castles in the Sky. Because I had that existing BAFTA cred, I think it then positioned me to get more BAFTA cred a bit more easily. So I got selected for like BAFTA Breakthrough Brits, which was also the first year they'd done that. So it was like this string of just like, okay, no one else is being entered into these, but Dan's here. And then using that to get a leg up quite quickly. Part of this, though, was as a result of doing BAFTA YGD, I got to get my first work experience in the games industry, which was at EA Games.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so
EA proper, or like publishing side, or like one of the studios they owned?
This was EA Brightlight, who aren't around anymore, but they were doing the last Harry Potter game at the time. So I spent a week there basically going like, oh, this is really, really useful, and I'm learning a lot, and I don't think I want to be in this environment.
You didn't want to challenge everything.
Yeah, like, I need to be super duper clear that, like, everyone there was genuinely really nice, and I think part of why I had this takeaway was because everyone was so nice and so candid. Like, literally, I won't say his name in case it, like, implicates him in some way, but I sort of had like a mentor for the week, and when I turned up, I was really, really nervous waiting at the front desk, being like, oh man, like, I've seen the games that this sort of like wing of EA puts out, they've not been received very well. Am I gonna have to spend this whole week mask on pretending that these games are good? And this guy like met me at the front desk, and literally the first thing he said was like, I know our games aren't good this week. You're gonna find out why.
Wow.
Like, could not have asked for like a more eye-opening experience of just like, oh, here is like every step of the process where people are being halted, and especially with it being like a licensed game on like a very big property, the amount of things that had to get checked before they could go in the game, the amount of things that got pulled.
Right.
Like,
Holy shit.
I got so much insight, because the game didn't turn out great, but like I got so much insight into why that was. And like a bunch of the team on that, after the studio closed down, later joined Creative Assembly and did Alien Isolation. And it's
my
like,
God.
these developers, like,
blow up.
So this is what
like,
happens when you like actually are able to use your talents well.
Legitimately, actually, just hearing that has given a lot of new insight into what in most people's minds is one of the most insane flukes ever to happen in the industry, which is Alien Isolation getting made and being as good as it was, coming from a developer who had absolutely no history making anything like that. That scans.
You can learn the best lessons from the way that Alien Isolation got made and pitched.
Well, and also what's happened since.
Right. This is true. But like, I think about the way that game was skunkworksed inside of Creative Assembly. They were not operating with any authority to do so when they fucking made like the base pitch for that game. A lot when I think about the ways that I sometimes will do things maybe that I should not explicitly be doing or that I've not explicitly been asked to do on a game or project. I'm not, I can't give an example.
No, I know. I'm just being a shithead.
I will say that, like, I think that you can learn good and bad good lessons from that. Like, sometimes you will be rewarded for doing things you're not supposed to do.
Now, that's definitely something people should take to heart while listening.
So, Dan, what you're describing is effectively like shaking up a soda bottle a lot and then finally taking the cap off, kind of.
Yeah. To this day, like, I'm not sure I've learned as much about game development in as concentrated a period as I did in that 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
Where I just went from being completely very interested in games, constantly watching interviews with developers and like trying to make my own stuff and just trying to learn as much as I could, but then just being in that environment and just being bombarded constantly with people trying really, really hard, not great conditions,
being punished for it.
That's a really good experience, I feel like, to have had.
Yeah, like the thing that stuck in my brain, which is genuinely helpful and I think about a lot, was one of the developers on it saying, like, if we get a 7 out of 10 for this game, then we've outdone ourselves.
Oh my God.
But like, it's true, right? Because I mean, this is a team working in 6 months to get a whole project out. Like, that's like, you know.
No. Again, it's like what did I say when we started? It's like, it's not.
You said, "Go fuck yourself, Sam, for having lawnmowers outside."
And then after that, I said, "It's crazy how like." You know, like I can't say I'm surprised by things that I already kind of knew in my heart, but hearing them spoken out loud really just helps illustrate the reality sometimes.
Well, the thing is, like, narratively, the thing that makes the most sense from the outside is the idea of a developer in a complete vacuum saying, if we get a 7 out of 10, we've outdone ourselves. You know all of the connotations that come with that, which is like they have low standards for themselves. Why don't developers want to make good games?
Lazy fucking game devs.
Just make fucking good games.
I bet they've got food in their fridge.
Yeah, and that's an actual crime, and we should talk about that later, Dan. But besides that, it's really tough to communicate about, like, I wish that there would have been a way to communicate the week of experience that you had to other people around that time, because I feel like it's still pretty recent.
Yeah.
The idea that you actually need to make an environment to allow creativity to flourish for that to happen, that's still new to general conversations about commercial art stuff.
And on that note, what's the first time you got exploited, Sam?
Yeah, so I remember very vividly, I wanted to get into the game industry, so I joined up with this it was at the time when people would say they're starting game studios, but they generated a logo on like a logo website is what they had done. And so I met this ideas guy.
Oh yeah, here we go.
He had ambitions, but not a lot of interest in learning about the process of game development.
I've got a great idea. I just need someone to do the programming and the art.
And exactly. And I was like, oh, I do the programming. I can help on that. And what I entered was this Skype group chat that was a revolving door of a lot of some of the most talented people that I had been able to meet at that time, who were coming on board, seeing everyone else's work, and then leaving after realizing what a fucking nightmare it was. And yeah, I have so many little memories that flash in my mind of like him being like, yeah, we got to make this fucking open world MOBA. This is what we got to do. We have to take down Dota. Sam, you kind of know Unity. Dude, I should not have been given even the latitude on that project that I was given, because I just said some wrong shit about networking that was taken at face value because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
Oh, that always is the fucking biggest red flag when you are treated as an authority because you're loud in a group setting. That's a huge red flag.
You know, we the thing that we kept trying to do was like at that time even like trying to get him to scope down the project. Like, you're not going to make the next Call of Duty with this group of people. That's not what we do. I remember being in a Skype call meeting with him and hearing like gunshots in the background, and I was worried that some shit was happening. And then I realized he was just playing GTA the entire time and not really paying attention to anything anyone was saying. It was really fun, and this culminated in like the one of the main projects that he wanted to do that he kept pivoting. He just kept wanting to make like these giant multiplayer games, kept ending in disaster. No one was getting paid for any of this, by the way. So it was me and a couple of the other people on the team just started talking, and we're like, well, what kind of game could we make if we just kind of wanted to do some shit that is actually achievable within our scope? And we still outpaced that a little bit, but we started designing this fun little thing and making art for it, and it was like this nice little creative experience. And then the leader of the group caught on to this and just was like taking ownership and then pushing it back in the same direction that all of the other projects were doing, continuing to make demands of people until everyone had been pushed out or left. And the last conversation I had with him, my Twitter account, was like him saying I was like an immature piece of shit for not letting him do all this stuff, and blocking him, and like he's gonna forget about me when he's a huge success or some shit like that. I did check on him many years later,
of course, by
the way. And not only is that entire quote-unquote studio not a thing anymore, but he pivoted his entire account into retweeting the most embarrassing NFT shit of all time. And at some point, he did go back and unblock me. And there's a couple of points in time where I can predict that might have happened.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah, no, but that was like hugely formative for me because I was like 13 or some shit at that time. I have no idea. I was stupid, but I was like, oh, this is what it's like. This is what it's like in the big leagues, just worse.
Honestly, the boldness to tell a 13-year-old that they're being immature and then being like, I'm the mature
so
one.
Good.
That is fucking crazy. Telling a high schooler to grow the fuck up.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, hey, you took his advice, so maybe he was onto something.
Yeah, no, it was great. No, I still have somewhere like logs from that Skype chat because I was going to be so annoyed because he wanted to kick everyone out and then keep making the game as someone who had like none of the vision or ideas that anyone else on the team had about what we were going to make. And I was so annoyed about that like right before getting kicked out or leaving the Skype group, I just like downloaded all of my logs. I uploaded them to a Google Drive somewhere. So that I've never looked at those again. I actually forgot I did that until this moment.
Once we hit 50K subs, we will release the logs.
I'm dropping the logs, everyone.
You dropping
I'm just gonna
logs?
put them all in a big Google. I'm gonna drop this entire embarrassing Skype history of no, I'm not doing that.
Sam, you missed RJ's really funny joke.
Very funny. It was a toilet joke. I made a joke about poop.
It's about poopy poop.
Poo-poo shit. Big poopy shit.
Right. Sorry. I hadn't fully reverted back to my 13-year-old mindset in
telling a story about being 13.
Yeah. Sorry. This is my bad. I wasn't method.
You're not a very good storyteller.
That's a good point.
I have had very similar experiences with like, oh, I'm on a project that seems semi-real, and then I realize with the experience of being on it for more than a week that no, it's not real. This is just some guy who has no idea what he's doing, telling people very confidently. I ended up in charge of one of those projects because the guy stopped being interested in it. And then
oh my God.
He later, when he was like programming on the project, which was the only thing that he had a connection to, but all the creative stuff initially was him. And then he would just be like, actually, you do it. You do all the creative, you do all of the stuff that's creative on this project. I'll just program it. And then he stopped doing it because it turned out that the numerology was bad. And he got really into numerology. And a date that we wanted to put the Kickstarter out for this project, which was, by the way, like 2 months in the future at the time he said this, was I think he said it was a demonic number. Was the exact thing he said. All of this, I need to stress, extremely real. This happened to me.
Oh my God.
Very weird fucking shit happens to you when you're on TigSource in the mid 2010s. TigSource basically doesn't exist anymore, and that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh my God, that makes me feel crazy.
I can relate to the feeling, but I really just do not know what you're talking about.
TigSource was a website for indie game news started by Derek Yu. Was it started by Derek Yu or was it? I think it was started by Derek Yu. I'm not looking that up. I'm on a podcast.
We're on a podcast. You're in good company.
I know that Derek Yu is in charge of at least the forum, if not the website itself. But there was a big fucking forum attached to the TigSource website. That's where like a lot of people who got really big in the early 2010s in the indie game scene kind of flourished at the start because they all just met there. So like
this is sounding very Newgrounds adjacent.
It's very similar kind of company, except it's people like Phil Fish blowing up there.
Okay.
Yeah, so like, and they kind of just all mingled and talked to each other and knew each other, and then there was like the whole thing of like, well, you're talking to each other, you're very cliquey, and then it became like a fucking sidebar of people who hated the first people, and you know how it goes. It's the internet.
So it's Newgrounds.
Yeah, got it. You get it. Anyway, all those people left because they lost interest or got rich or both, and so then like by the time I came on the website in the mid 2010s. All of those people were gone, and it was just a bunch of people who were posting devlogs to nobody, and then me, a kid in college, being like, maybe one of these projects will be real. I'll do music for you. So that was kind of how that went.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
We got to.
That's all I got.
What's so sad is that now all of this is happening on Discord servers where it will not be easily Googleable in the future.
But it's okay, Sam. It's okay, Sam, because we have YouTubers who will just go into these Discord servers as like a Trojan horse and then just make a slop video about drama. Isn't that so much better?
Yeah.
We have editorialized versions of this now, and people profit off of it.
I can't tell if you're talking about a specific thing or the specific thing.
I'm not. I'm talking about a thing that is just happening more and more lately, and it's really cool.
There's slop YouTubers
you don't know about
going
this?
into TigSource equivalent, like
Not,
what? Like a National Geographic documentary, just watching a bunch of teenagers recreate. What the fuck are you talking about?
This is a thing.
This is like low hanging.
Listen, you've got to have a certain kind of fucked recommendations in order to like be served these.
Recommendations.
Not like this.
I can corroborate this, even though I can't name any specific examples because they're not big YouTubers doing this.
I can't either, and I'm very proud of that.
It's not big YouTubers doing this, but it's people who are like, I want to create fucking an internet drama video because it's low hanging fruit.
Yeah, I want to do like exposed content.
Exactly. And then like I'm like, here's all of the dramatic shit leading to this game that's canceled, and you like call it a canceled game, big canceled game, but it's just like some fucking guy's project that never happened.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
For every video about the drama surrounding Yandere Dev, there are 20 more of projects you've never heard about with a quarter of the views, but a very dedicated following.
I forgot about that. That's so funny.
Yeah.
This is still really funny. Yeah.
No, it's cool though. It's cool because now instead of just going to old archived forums, people make money doing this.
And they do it.
Yeah.
They do it super accurately and with a lot of journalistic integrity.
Listen, now that there's a profit motive,
They have to do their jobs right.
that's all I got.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything to share on the exploitation side because of the weird position I'm in. I mean, the closest I got is before I became a awesome fucking influencer.
Yeah.
You know, the quote unquote like just I guess quote unquote normal jobs.
Yeah.
Were just very shitty to me. Like I don't know. I experienced very normal kinds of exploitation in that, like, you know, I worked at Taco Bell. I worked in call centers.
Right.
The biggest moment in my career prior to being self-employed was whenever I felt like I was almost being paid what I was worth. That was like a big moment for me.
Yeah, that's relatable, frankly, though. Like, I think I was not doing fucking substantially well financial. Fucking really, realistically speaking, I'm not still doing super financially well, but I'm doing much better than I used to be. But for a long time, like I did fucking bartending in between working on Unbeatable part time when we did not have money or funding for that project. Right. And
it was like the white label era.
Yeah. Let me tell you, like, holy shit. It is not good out there for people in food service. Like, if anyone doesn't know, I can't. It's not good.
I still get flashbacks to the table that I had to clean off, where the customers got all of the Taco Bell different colored sauce packets and arranged them to spell out "fuck you."
That's so cool. That's so cool.
I'm gonna do that.
There's an example I give in Unbeatable that's actually very close to this. So this is, I guess, an adjacent to a spoiler in Unbeatable, but it is out of context. Nobody cares. Someone actually wrote. They were the only people in the restaurant the day that I was there, and they wrote on the tip line a negative number and said, I think a homeless would do better. Was the
Holy
homeless.
A homeless would do better.
Wow. That's really cool.
Wow.
And okay, listen, first of all, I was having a rough day when I did that, so back off.
Yeah, and I did spit in your food. So
yeah. Okay, so we're even.
I mean, you got hired later, so I mean, clearly things have been made up since then. I don't know.
Yeah.
The tables turned. Actually, no, they didn't. You stayed serving him the entire time. No, this is just a natural progression.
No, it came back years later when in my first invoice for Unbeatable, RJ wrote a negative tip on the invoice and said, I think I almost could have done better.
You should have paid me for getting to work on Unbeatable, you piece of shit.
Oh man.
Think of the exposure.
That's an insane thing to say. Holy
We're bringing
shit.
it full circle, guys.
It was really funny when you were giving all the examples of like different kinds of tools dev you had done, and every single one of them was for me in that podcast previous.
I'm just thinking still a little bit about like my early career and how ashamed I am of who I was as a person.
Cannot relate.
Oh, no. It was very. You ever yell a lot online when you're a teenager?
Yep.
Nope.
Because you're fundamentally, you can't recognize it in yourself, but you are insecure and you're hoping that if you look confident and you can project that and you can look like the people that you see being confident, then you will in fact be treated that way. And the thing is that you don't realize is that arrogance is only ever tolerated. It can be kind of earned sometimes, but even when it is, it's only ever tolerated. And so doing that as someone who has not done shit and also is not actually that good at what they do yet, you're just kind of being an asshole. A pure hypothetical situation.
Yeah.
You ever look in the mirror so hard you leave the industry and go back to school?
Oh my God. When's the last time you thought about being a librarian, Sam?
How long has it been since 1 p.m. No,
Oh,
it's
right. Yeah.
No.
No, you can.
honestly,
No, it's okay. Listen,
No,
we were
I'm-
talking at 1 p.m. I understand. I know.
No, it's yeah. 'Cause I don't know. It's genuinely. It's been a while since I've thought about actually leaving the industry, and the last couple of months has been especially a lot of really digging my heels in for a lot of reasons, and some of them are just personal. Like, I feel able to commit myself to projects and stuff again in a way that I didn't for a while for health reasons and all this bullshit. But more so than that, there is a lot of shit very clearly bad happening.
What do you mean?
Leaving before it gets worse and giving up while I'm in a position to not do that feels bad in ways that are kind of hard to outline, right? Like, I don't know. I feel it's very weird to be able to get into the game industry and survive in the first place, and being able to do so while avoiding a lot of the exploitation type shit I experienced as a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't.
It's like a weird
can't
feeling of
leave now.
privilege
Oh,
almost,
yeah.
in a way, right? Because it feels
Yeah.
like there's, I don't know. It's just,
It's
because you are just like, we are all very lucky to have jobs right now.
Oh,
in
yeah.
the entertainment
No, it's
industry.
extremely-
Full fucking stop.
Jesus fucking Christ. Shoot me in the head the day that I take for granted the fact that I get to do the thing I do, even if I'm complaining about it every single day of the week.
And very honestly tell people, do not do this.
Yeah.
All right, that was too far. All right. We are joking. We are joking mostly.
the thing is, like, I also think that each of us here generally has pretty strong opinions about what a game industry should look like. Like when I say don't get involved in the game industry, don't join the game industry as a joke, part of what I'm trying to get at least within my own heart, is I wish things were fucking different. I wish that we had different structures for you to enter into. And while that's not the case, there's just a lot of really challenging work that has to be done circumventing them and trying to survive on its fringes and not get sucked in deep enough to get lost and screwed.
The best structure to exist is to just be Supergiant by accident. Like legitimately, that is the fucking be all end all, is have unlimited money because of an accident, and then you get to do whatever you want and never sell your company.
Yeah.
That's it. That it is currently, we are in an industry that does not give enough development time to people, because the development time they give to people costs money, and there's not enough money to go around. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
And we're sort of in the worst part of that right now as well, right? Like, we're actively experiencing a lot of the systems that probably shouldn't have been allowed to continue existing within the games industry, and like bad practices, bad approaches come up against an economic environment that cannot support those bad practices, and all of these struts, particularly in AAA, that were previously supporting it with minimal accountability, is now making all of that collapse, and the workers are paying the price for that. I think when it comes to like telling people, because I do this as well, like saying like should you work in the games industry? No. Like we say it as a joke, but I think there's kind of like the subtext in that is like, hey, this is a really hard industry to exist in right now, and in order to persist here, you need to be the kind of person who, when you hear someone say, don't do this, you're kind of like, well, I'm going to do it anyway.
That is exactly what I was going to say.
Right. You need to hear that and then want to do it more. Even like that's really it.
And by the and we should stress, by the way, this isn't necessarily a healthy way to think. It's more just like a necessity of the environment at this point.
The games industry I would like to see is one where you can go, hey, you should get a job in the games industry because it's a job. And
it's fun.
And that's it. And you'll enjoy it. And you'll be fulfilled and have fun and have a good life.
But I mean, like, this is the thing. Like, I think it's weird that working in video games, I feel like the people I know in this industry are less happy writ large than people in fucking Hollywood, which says a lot. because the people in Hollywood will complain about everything to anybody.
I mean, I've seen the same thing happen with the animation scene a lot lately. I mean, especially now with this is a much less interesting observation now that there's an ongoing strike. It is still ongoing, right?
I
haven't
believe
been following it too closely.
Adam Conover keeps doing videos where he talks
it's still it's a thing. Dude, if you've ever met animators, especially those who work in big budget productions, they are some of the most humble, nice, quiet, and easily exploited people because of all of those great qualities. They get ground into the fucking dust and have been for decades. And you have to understand that for that group of people to be pushed to the brink that they are on right now, things have to be phenomenally bad.
They need to be super turbo fucked. And they are.
It's bad in Hollywood.
It's so
holy
fucking
fuck, it's bad. It's bad everywhere right now. Whenever I joke, you should not get into the entertainment industry. And I'm very careful to say entertainment industry, because if I say games industry, that's stolen valor. But also, it's not just a game-specific problem. It's being talked about a lot in the games industry because a lot of people have tried very hard to get it talked about for a while. Well, we aren't... What's a lot more new, but is not to be talked about, but a very old problem, the same fucking thing that has been affecting the games industry. This is a universal economic problem. The same structures that are making it hard for anyone in game dev to get a job are generally the ones that are fucking over everyone else in any part of the entertainment business right now. It's just like the core structures that make most of this stuff possible, especially when it comes to getting funding for things, employment structures. I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
No, it's a fucking nightmare.
I'm thinking about that they just shut down Cartoon Network Studios, and I'm getting real mad. I'm sorry. They did do that. They did that.
It's so fucking hellish. And I think about the Game Workers Unite getting punted off by the GDC. There was a whole thing a few years back that probably Sam remembers better than I do, about Game Workers Unite trying to get this shit talked about, and it being very popular with people for obvious reasons. And then a lot of people who were in charge of organizing GDC were like, I don't like that this is getting talked about so much. This isn't positive. it was the whole fucking annoying thing.
And I agreed with them until they reject my talk. And then I was like, well, all right, well, now we gotta
fight GDC. The animation industry is so fucking bad. D-Cell is partially an animation studio, and we're trying to be really good about maintaining jobs for the people who are on staff, which is part of why if D-Cell doesn't get another game funded, I am going to be working real fucking hard to try to get trailer projects or something going, because I do not want people to suddenly not have jobs just because there's not a game to work on for them to do animation on. And I've seen the stuff that they've done elsewhere, and the amount of pay rates that people have been proposing for animation. And it's doubling it is still low for a lot of people that we hired. It's we just end up paying everyone the same base rate of $30 an hour for animation, because it's still way cheaper for us and way more expensive for them relative to what they've been paid than anything fucking else in the industry that they're experienced in.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, have you also had the fun experience where you hire a freelance animator and then their work is done, and then you have to let them go because the work's done and the thing's over? And
it's always a good feeling. It's a great feeling. I love doing it.
Yeah, it's really great whenever it's whenever the conversation ends with some variant of, if you need any more work, I'm available. That's the last thing they say to you. I love having that conversation.
I asked for a quote from someone. This is over a year and a half ago, but I asked for a quote when I was scouting animators for someone, and they quoted me, and I'm not joking about this rate. They quoted me $200 a minute of animation. And I don't know how to deal with that. What the fuck were they doing?
No, it's fun because it's very ingrained. I mean, like
a friend of ours who is ingrained in the anime industry
has been escaping, and the
conditions.
Like, if you want to talk about tiers of exploitation,
the anime is just fucking Mappa. What we can call out the studio.
We can. Oh, I mean, they weren't working for Mappa. That's what makes us so interesting. Is that like the place they worked at is not a huge production. It's like this small indie thing, and yeah, it drives me insane
also,
whenever I see.
By the way, I'm so sorry. I need to get this out there. When you see people starting studios with really idealistic visions and no clear plan about how to execute on that, you need to be very fucking careful, because it is very, very likely that they are just in the process of recreating the structures that they are claiming to be running away from, and they don't realize it yet. That's all I got to throw out there. Sorry.
Anyway, completely unrelated. Our friend was experiencing a lot of the exact same issues that you would hear about in these gigantic institutions, wherever this is like an established problem that comes with the territory because of how the culture around the work is and the expectations that are set in stone. Like, I think it's extremely important for people to realize that this isn't just a gigantic company problem. It's like an industry-wide cultural problem that has to do with expectations and like power structures. I fully believe that the startup that our friend worked at really believed they were fighting the good fight. They just didn't fucking realize that they were recreating all of the same problems that they claimed to be trying to fix.
It's like the fucking all the Tumblr animation circles that blew up and then did nothing with
Don't give me
too much money. You know you were in those circles, not inside them, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
I followed them closely. Yes.
Yeah. That shit always fucking panned out badly for the reasons we have been talking about this entire podcast length.
When I remembered the thing that I was trying to ramble towards before, which is that whenever I say, I mean, it was kind of a variation of what Dan was saying, right? It's like whenever I joke that you shouldn't get into a creative industry, what I'm really trying to get across is that, like, I want you to know what you're getting into. Yeah. And I've spoken to game developers who, and not even just game devs, I've spoken to a lot of people in creative fields who rub up against what I'm about to say. But I really, really strongly believe that if you want to be creative for a job, you have to understand what the environment you're entering into is before you invest years of your life and also possibly copious amounts of money into that. Because if you're not ready for it, you could regret it for the rest of your life. It could burn you extremely, extremely bad and traumatize you for life. And you have to know that you're opening yourself up to that.
Or worse, you could make other people regret it under you.
Yes! You could be the guy who makes other people miserable. You can also do that. You have the power.
It's actually my official job title. No, but yeah, I mean, but on the other hand, if you are going to do this, it helps to know what you're navigating on a real level, because, like, idealism is not going to get you past obstacles.
Well,
like, being able to be the guy who beats their head against the brick wall for 4 years straight is not as good as being the guy who has that energy and also the knowledge to walk around it instead.
And I mean, like, I can stress, and I know fucking Sam and Dan, and I assume you too, Julian, all can speak to this exact same experience. If you are there's a sense of like, oh, there's the Superman complex of like, I can get this done in a fucking week. I know I can do this. And then you can do this. You can do this, but you shouldn't. You should not do that for anyone, especially not yourself.
RJ, why you got to be saying this right now?
I'm going to do it. Don't fucking tell me what to do.
You need to stop saying these things to Sam and I right now.
But this is a fucking problem, because it's so real. We all four of us have maybe not identical personalities, but very similar creative, I think, pathologies. Right? I think that's fairly reasonable to say, and I think that is that is an endemic thing to this personality type as far as approaching work is the sense of, I think I can do all of this because I know I have the physical ability to, but not really thinking through what that means for you at the end of it all. And that's a bad place to get to.
This kind of ties back in with the work experience thing that I had, right? Where that whole, like we've outdone ourselves if we get a 7 out of 10. I think the reason that kind of resonated with me then was because I had been coming into the games industry with a lot of very egotistical ideas around, like, I'm just going to be the most driven and the most creative and the most, like, moral person.
You're going to show them all.
Yeah, and then getting them being like, oh, there's actually an abundance of those people here.
Yeah.
What they lack is an environment.
This is where they end up.
Yeah, and it's like what's more valuable is being savvy enough to navigate in that environment. And like sometimes there are just no good plays, but like it'll benefit you more to be critical and not just go, well, it's gonna work out because it's me.
It has to work out.
Oh, that's the fucking worst thing is it has to work out because it's me.
Because there's no alternative.
Yeah, I know it's possible because it's impossible. That's a George Lucas quote from yesterday.
We spoke to George Lucas yesterday.
We spoke
had him
to
on
George
the podcast
Lucas yesterday. We had him on the
We
watched that Star Wars Episode 1 making of documentary and did a podcast episode about it. I assume you both have watched it.
It's very good.
Oh yeah,
it's very good.
They knew exactly what they were making while they were making it,
and
it's
that's so fucking great. We can't get into this.
We can't do this again. But like, I'm so glad we're all on the same page. I just wanted to illustrate to the viewer that this is like a core piece of creative mythology for a fucking reason.
It really is. So not to get into it if you already talked about it too much, but like it was brought up a while ago, or not that long ago, like a week and a half ago or so, in the context of they don't fucking do bonus features for things any fucking more. They just don't.
Yeah. It's because you can't put it on the back of the box anymore as a selling point. There's no incentive institutionally to offer that to people anymore.
It's a fucking nightmare. And I remember why it was talking. It was because of, in the context of fucking Call of Duty Black Ops, which has like all this weird extra stuff in the original game. If you like, you can like wiggle your way out of the chair on the like title screen of that game.
Oh yeah.
Like there's all this stuff. And that's like, there's this sense of like weird generosity to a lot of projects like that, where they're just putting stuff in it for people to find. That does not happen anymore. And it's not because people don't care about that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, my God. Sorry, this is a powder keg topic for me. It's not even just that, like, it's not that people don't care about that stuff. It's like, this is becoming the only thing that people care about. If I'm going to do the most extreme
you've set him
version
off,
of
RJ. Oh no.
I'm ready.
There are so many good games coming out, and at the same time, you know, the big business is making this big technological bet that like, oh my God, what if we made the push button and have game button? Wouldn't that make our production cheaper and also not destroy our business model?
No, but if we do it first, then we're set. That's the thing, though. But you have to consider.
And this is the thing that they don't ever think about is the reaction to that, which is that if you actually end up in that universe where you have a button that you can push and get any creative output, then it doesn't really fucking matter what you make anymore. The only thing that matters is how you make it. Creativity is becoming a sport. I keep saying it's been happening for a fucking decade, and it's more true now than it ever has been. Because this is just like a huge
the creativity
category.
Accelerationists are going crazy over this past few years.
This is what I'm saying, but it's like people telling stories about their process is becoming like one of the biggest categories of content that exists online on social media.
100%. No, it's absolutely true. And it is nightmarish for me having to look at TikTok and think I need to do this now and figure this out. I've been trying to with mixed success, mostly because I don't have the fucking time for it. Because that is not a thought.
Man, we got to have Zalavir on to talk about that.
God.
I don't know how the fuck he has time for anything.
A quick Future Sam editor's note: Zalavir Nelson Jr. runs a game studio, so that's who we're talking
talking about here?
Is crazy. He's just crazy.
Okay.
Actually, I need to talk to him because I have no idea what the hell. I was the original guy doing music on, and I am not doing music on that project specifically because he kept asking for polka music in a horror game, and I said I'm not doing that.
Cool.
This is the straw that broke the camel's back.
Remember we were talking about how like you need someone who will listen intently and then make creative calls that are bold and have a direction. This is what sometimes, you know.
Saying no is a good skill to have.
Yeah.
My like favorite trait of Zalavir's is that he's just really, really good at just making a decision on a dime.
Mm-hmm.
The unfortunate part about working with him is sometimes it is, I don't know if you've ever like worked on a game where you need to like test the sound and make sure the sound's all working and you have to listen to the same single polka track loop for hours per day. I genuinely
You can see why, Dan, I might not have wanted to do that to myself.
RJ,
You know
are
what?
not
I
a
appreciate
fan of
not-
polka?
I like Weird Al Yankovic's
I
polka.
fucking knew you were gonna say.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't like polka. Got it.
No, I don't.
you know what, RJ? I really appreciate that our friendship hasn't needed to be tarnished by you being responsible for how much of that music I've had to hear over the course of that project. I'm glad I don't have the association.
It would have like altered the fabric of your relationship forever.
Oh yeah.
No, instead you get to hear the loudest shit in the world every time. Well, let me tell you, working on I Am Your Beast stuff hurts my ears sometimes. I need to stop every once in a while because it is loud. It's loud. I don't know if you know that. It's loud.
I'm surprised that you wouldn't have like. I'm sorry, you were still talking, and I'm a bad person, but I'm gonna keep talking. I'm surprised you wouldn't, at a certain point, take more steps to like cushion that after a while. Because I mean, I have the same thing.
Consider turning the volume down.
Fuck off, because
It's not about okay. A, shut the fuck up, idiot. B, so I don't know how much people here know about audio production stuff. I assume probably a little bit, at least.
Are we talking about like the girl hearing this, or just like us four generally?
But I guess both, really. But I mean, you like as far as like just the core concepts of like mixing and
I mean, I can
mastering
talk
go, right?
about it a bit, but like we should keep it broad for the audience, though.
Keeping it broad, like the reason that it hurts physically to mix and master something like I Am Your Beast's music is that it is all brick walls, basically, which means that it is consistently hitting the loudest possible volume that you can go without physically breaking the speakers.
How many lufts were you hitting?
It was like -8.
Oh my fuck. So twice as loud as YouTube videos, listener. Double the volume of what you're hearing right now, relatively.
That's fucking why I had that bug on the video recorder. You were clipping out Unity so hard that like it would bust, but like Unity was doing something crazy. But it kept giving me the raw audio sample, so every time I tried to write when I was doing the clipper for I'm Your Beast, it would just be this blown out nightmare on the audio side.
Listener,
I had to program a fucking limiter.
I'm so sorry.
I had to program a VST limiter. I had to look that shit up and I had to do that, and it wasn't that hard. But
listener,
funny.
I don't remember
so
if we
funny,
talked about this before. We told you about
couple
this
episodes ago.
But like, Sam really just went through hell to get this feature into I Am Your Beast, where you could just record the gameplay. And like,
it's a good feature.
Yeah, we did talk about this. Okay, so if you heard that one, you'll know that like I described how I described his deteriorating mental state on like day 4 of what he described as a 2-hour-long project. This is one of the things.
I mean, it was more because of Big Buck Bunny than because of
that fucking name in this
RJ,
house.
The best part, literally actually untrue. Big Buck Bunny was the funny first domino falling in what was a comedic series of problems that he didn't realize he was going to have to solve.
I will say the limiter thing was like the least of the problems because it wasn't codec related. I found out pretty quickly.
I'm so sorry for that, but that
honestly,
is really funny.
That was like a little bit of respite in the how the fuck you pronounce it in a sea of like learning. What's great about the clipping feature of I Am Your Beast is that it outputs two possible video formats, both of which you can't really share on social media correctly. One of them doesn't play on your phone if you send it in Discord, and the other won't upload on Twitter. It's really, and for purely legal reasons, and I'm still... That's one of those things that I did without permission because it would have been unethical to charge for the amount of time that I wanted to spitefully invest in that fucking project as a separate thing.
This is what Dan was is what RJ was talking about earlier.
And I'm still
That's so funny.
Hey, I've retained full ownership over the fucking clipping code, and someday I'm gonna put it on. It's not really that dramatic if you think about it, but it felt like I was going.
You're gonna sell a Unity asset.
You're gonna show them all.
I'm gonna show them all
you got.
Yeah.
For the listener at home, for the record, doing brick wall limiting is not a thing you're quote unquote supposed to do because it is quote unquote bad practice. And I was doing it for quote unquote creative reasons.
Sun Tzu.
Okay, Sun Tzu.
Me. You should not unless you know why you're doing it be brickwalling audio ever. Because usually it makes the actual sound of the thing worse.
Yeah, it's fun because it's like it's kind of how you need to know the rules before you break them. Except brickwalling is kind of like a whole different rule set you have to learn. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite new features on YouTube.
Oh, are we really going back here?
We're not, but I just want to say that when we talked about YouTube's automatic volume stabilization thing, that was before I had started experiencing the bugs with it, where I would be listening to a YouTube tutorial where the guy would be like, yeah, and then you have to open, and it would like trail up, and it was like, what the fuck? And then YouTube would be like, oh, we overcorrected in the quieting direction. Got to turn the knob the other way, and it would just blow out the speakers with like, then you have to save the file. It was fucking awful.
Can't say I've run into that one.
I'm so sorry.
Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm reminiscing on the 2 week. I think it was like 2 weeks. Like when Sam was doing the like Beast recorder clip thing, I'd just come out of like we'd just hit launch. It came out very, very soon after.
Yeah.
I really needed a break, and Sam's 2-hour task becoming this like massive odyssey basically bought me about 2 weeks of time where I didn't have to update the game, and I really needed that. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. Anytime. If there's one thing I can do, it's this.
is extend what should be a simple thing into a conquest.
Yeah, I come back and the place that I was is the same, but I am changed, you know?
Yeah. How many times have you changed? There's got to be like an upper limit.
How many times? What the fuck kind of question is that? How many
times have you changed?
Can we go around in the circle and try to earnestly answer that question? Like, actually, how would you be... Julian, how many times have you changed?
This reminds me of whenever I was very high and we were dancing around projects that are NDA, and the words that escaped my lips were nothing normal, and instead I simply asked, how many secrets do you have? I'm still thinking about that.
Listener, this is a classic question, Dodge. He does not want to share how many times he's changed. That's what I'm saying.
It's like, it's getting up there.
It's been more than once.
That's what I keep saying. There's got to be like a limit.
No.
If you keep working at like the actual legitimate answer, if we want to no bullshit, no bits.
Oh my, wait, holy shit. You found a way to pivot this into a real discussion?
Cooking. Go for it.
Please.
Maybe. But yeah, no, like legitimately, as long as you stay fucking interested in the things you're doing forever, I don't think that you look at fucking Martin Scorsese saying with some degree of sadness, I still am figuring out things at 80. I have so many ideas and not enough years left is what I think almost exactly the quote.
Yeah.
People, if you are staying creatively engaged with the things you're doing and you're forcing yourself to actually try things, you are not going to stop changing. It's just the case. It's like it part of that is making sure that you are actually interested in the thing you're doing, though. And unfortunately, the systems behind how you're doing things tend to fight that.
Tend to make you want to quit as soon as you start.
It's the thing of like, Sam, you say this all the fucking time. The thing of like, you need to be worse at something to be, to be interested enough in it to be good at it, right?
You have to be willing to be terrible at shit and actively love that experience.
Exactly. Yeah. This is why I feel like I am driven by difficulty a lot, the way that Nelson is kind of driven by chaos a lot, where I do not feel like I am doing a good job. Maybe this is unhealthy. It is unhealthy, but I do not feel like I'm doing a good job unless I am radically trying to do something that I find extremely difficult or uncomfortable in the process of doing something, be it for music or writing or whatever the fuck. Like, I feel like if I am not hitting a brick wall in my process, something is wrong to some degree.
Yeah, I remember we had I can't remember exactly at what point. It was near the end of Beast. But like you and I, RJ, had like a deep, like, for me, like 2 a.m. Conversation about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, we talked about this exact thing.
Yeah, and over the course of that conversation realized that essentially like we came into games both having that attitude, and then I had like one really bad project. I'm just like, I still want to do good work, and I still have like a lot of drive, a lot of enthusiasm for the creative process of making games. I might be I hope I'm the only person in this call who's previously lost like 4 to 5 years on a project that just was not worth it.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
4 to
half my
5
20s.
years. Yes. Yeah, that's a lot.
But like, it's hard to come out the other side of that and be like,
God.
I'm going to do the difficult thing. You come out the other side and you're like, okay, what's compelling and easy?
Yeah. What's attainable?
Yeah, and like, this is like, I've been doing work with Strange Scaffold for, I think, about 2 years now, 2.5 years. One of the things I do enjoy about that process is like the projects are pretty aggressively scoped to a point where like sometimes it can be quite annoying. But like the benefit of that is it does at least safeguard you from how maybe not safeguard you from difficulty, like everyone still works hard and you still accomplish difficult things, but like it at least protects you where it's like, oh, if this doesn't work out, we've lost like it's like a if I'm Your Beast had been a disaster, at least for like my stake in it, it would have been like, okay, well, that was 10 months, which isn't great, but in the games industry is actually pretty good if like you spend 10 months on something and then it doesn't entirely work out.
And you got paid for it, and there's another project.
Clickholding was...
Yeah. Oh my god, clickholding was such a fucking fast process.
Yeah.
I'm getting war flashbacks.
Was that a rough one?
That was rough because of how short it was. Like, more than anything else. And that's not even like...
It was also sandwiched in between Beast, which like...
That's the biggest... That's the real reason. Like, it's the... I was doing... the stuff for Life Eater, because I did all the voice direction and like sound editing on the voices and all that stuff with the cutscenes for that game, and then immediately jumped into Clickholding. In between, also doing I Am Your Beast stuff and trying to figure out what the soundtrack for that looked like what the shape of it was going to be. Because there was a bunch of different, for some fucking stupid reason, I wanted to, at the start of I Am Your Beast, I was trying to do a soundtrack that didn't have any actual drums in it. It was like all radio noise as the percussive bit.
Oh, the face awesome. I just made.
And I tried doing that, and Nelson did not like the sound of the radio noise. He's like, "This is bad. Don't do this," because he thought it wasn't enough of a Hotline Miami vibe. Was his exact phraseology, I think. So then I added drums, and he was happy.
You seem a little bitter about that.
I'm only slightly bitter because I thought that the idea of doing percussive stuff with like CB radio was very cool. And I like the idea.
No,
of
that sounds fucking awesome. Do you still have any of like the demos? Did any of that material make it into like the album that you put out?
Yeah, I think I can pull one of those up and pull it in here. The track that used it the most got remixed into a track that's actually in game. It's the one that you hear during the Baba Yaga level on the challenge levels.
Wait, you wrote specific music for the challenge levels that's not in the actual like main levels?
Yeah.
RJ,
this is the fun thing about working with RJ is you'll be like, we probably need X amount, like, and then RJ will give you 3 to 4 times that amount, and it's like, this is great, but also what the fuck?
Because I I get irritated. I get irritated when I play a game that has repeated music in places, or like you repeat.
You're not normal. That's not well.
That's fucking awesome.
No. You're like
those
me
devs
when I was
accountable,
9.
Don't let them get away with it.
Listen, it's a disease I have. I'm making a fucking video game that is all about music for a reason.
That's the one context in which I feel you can justify that kind of insane scope. Like, that's literally the one instance.
It goes. I mean, Unbeatable goes really stupid with it. The amount of weird dynamic music and Fmod loops and shit that goes into Unbeatable is psychotic. It's going to be nuts.
You gotta tell me about that shit some other time. I'm such a fucking nerd for that.
It was a headache to get right for sure on a lot of that stuff, and I'm very glad that I wasn't the one responsible to get that right on a lot of the sides.
Sounds like using Fmod.
Yeah, Fmod sucks, but also it's good. But also it sucks.
Should have used Wise instead. Would have fixed all your problems.
Yeah, it would have. I should have thought of that.
Thankfully, we have the YouTuber to help.
Yeah, right. Knows everything about the process. That sounded really mean. You know what?
Yeah, how fucking dare you? I've watched at least a couple videos explaining what these programs are.
You've watched a Let's Play before.
I've watched someone play a game that uses Fmod. I think I know what I'm fucking talking about.
I've seen the Fmod logo.